Hello, Rachel.
Hello, Ryan.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am also doing well. In fact, I could say I'm doing very well.
Oh, I love to hear it.
Do you love to hear it?
Yeah, of course I do. You're my husband.
Oh, and you are my wife, as the famous comedian used to say. You're my wife. See, this is the difference with our podcast. We bring Borat into this. Now, real question. If Sacha Baron Cohen was in The Expanse, with what we've seen thus far, who would he play?
A belter.
Oh, interesting. Who would he play, in your opinion?
I think you know who I have in mind.
Say it.
Gaunt belter.
Gaunt? I thought you were actually going to pitch Anderson Dawes. I'm going to go absolutely messy, chaotic, weird choice. How good would he be as Havelock?
I knew it. I knew
The real choice is he would,
it.
if we were being legitimate, if we wanted to see Sacha Baron Cohen act, because he's not just a funny guy, he would be perfect as Aaron Wright.
Yes.
He would be great as Aaron Wright.
He would be great. Or even as Win.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, you have to change stuff around, but he'd be great as sleazy piece of... He has to be villainous.
Please. Yeah, a piece of shit.
I can't have him as Holden.
Man with power.
I can't have him as Holden.
No.
He is where you go chaotic. Sacha Baron Cohen as Amos. Now, how would your automatic Amos pick be?
No. Sacrilegious. That's sacrilegious. You're not allowed to do that. Nope.
My wife. That's the churn. But let's get real. Let's not be silly, because here on Yum Yum Podcast, we are very serious people. We talk about science fiction television, one episode at a time. We've made our way through Star Trek Discovery. We've made our way through Space Above and Beyond, Babylon 5. And now here we are at The Expanse. And Yum Yum is a line of dialogue from Star Trek Discovery that we love to carry with us in our day-to-day life, because it was such a wonderfully over-the-top, out of nowhere, completely absurd moment of a character being injected in as a moment of levity, but also a little bit of horniness there too. And it was just such an eyebrow raiser that our eyebrows have never gone back down. In fact, my eyebrows have gone all the way to the back of my head. When you look at me, you may think, Ryan, did you shave your eyebrows? No, they're all the way back here.
And they've lowered slightly because they started being all the way round on the underside of your butt.
I thought you were going to say they went all the way around where they were back to where they started and people didn't know, but now they're going back again. It's a journey, and we love to bring you along with us on that journey where we reference Yum Yum. It's a really crazy thing, and we are on a journey ourselves in which we are watching through The Expanse for the first ever time. We haven't seen it. This is the furthest we have ever gone with The Expanse. Each episode that you listen to right now is the furthest we have gone with The Expanse.
Yes. Well, unless you're listening to it on the main feed, because these do come out on our Patreon first, and there's at least a whole extra season out on our Patreon where we're zooming ahead.
Yes, we have.
If you're
our
on the
Patreon.
main feed, it is no longer the furthest that we've been.
You could hear our thoughts on the next episode or the next one or the rest of the season right now if you come on over to the
Potentially the rest
Patreon.
of the show even.
Who knows how crazy, unless there's been some horrible disaster that stopped us from finishing the show, but I don't think that's possible. And if you join our Patreon, you get so much extra bonus content, not just our coverage of The Expanse, but our coverage of so many other pieces of media, as well as a group Discord that you get to be a part of. We have a wonderful community. Come join it. We're having such a rip-roaring good time right now. We are talking about so many things, bickering back and forth on interpretations. Things are coming through about little tidbits from the book, or, hey, did you know this thing had happened? I have to own up to it, Rachel. I'm owning up to this. I've been very bold, so have you. And Rachel's off the hook for this because Rachel hasn't paid attention in the way that I have, which is Johnson's right-hand woman did get her name mentioned in Pyre, which is the episode I said I feel like it would have been mentioned in this. And this has opened a can of worms.
Okay.
It's in an ADR piece of dialogue from Fred Johnson. She's just been shot. You hear all of the kerfuffle, get the medics and soundscapes and all of that. But his line of dialogue is ADR'd, which means it's recorded afterwards.
Yeah.
And he says her name, and he says like her name, which I won't reveal because I want it to be revealed in a better way than this. But he says her name, which we don't have any context for. We don't even really know it's being addressed to her.
Oh, okay.
And our Blu-ray doesn't even capture it in subtitle form because the sound mixing is so in the background and his line delivery is so raspy. You know Chad's voice at this point, right? Chad Coleman, he's got a very raspy voice, deep voice, but also very soft voice. And it completely flew me by. And some of the transcripts, I looked through, some of them include the line and some of them don't because, again, some of the physical media's subtitling doesn't even include it. And I've said this too. We own the first 3 seasons on Blu-ray. The Expanse, no offense, and I hope we have yet to, as of this recording, and again, when you listen to this on the main feed, this will all have changed, but we don't have the full series Blu-ray set. The Blu-ray set we do have some of the worst subtitles I have ever seen. They just get so many things wrong. They omit certain words and lines. It's just so strange.
I appreciate that little asterisk of some of the worst because...
Oh, we've had worse.
We tried to take the ship by force, but we were unsuccessful. There was a Martian Marine on board, Gunnery Sergeant Roberta Draper.
The defector.
As well as UN Deputy Undersecretary Christian Avasarala. She was there too.
Who else was there? Fucking Tooth Fairy?
It's a little hard to believe, son.
What episode of The Expanse are we up to? So we're going through it for the first time, but for those who need a bit of a reminder, what one are we talking about today?
Triple Point.
And what happened in Triple Point? What does IMDb have to say about this? Again, we own the physical media, but sadly it is in the era now in which no longer are there descriptions written for the physical. We have to go to the internet.
The search for Prax's daughter comes to a head. Officers loyal to Admiral Souther plan to mutiny aboard the Agatha King.
Everyone in the entire universe is just biting their nails, worrying about how we are going to find a horny moment in this episode, because Triple Point does not have as overtly a yum thing to it, because yum, that line of dialogue, as I foreshadowed earlier, now I'm paying off, was horny and sexual. And we like to look for the moments in the Expanse that make us a little bit flushed, make us sweat at the brow and want to pull at our collar, maybe unbuckle our belts because things are going on. And the Expanse has given us plenty of A-grade horniness, but Season 3, it's a desert.
Yeah, it's really following through on the tone that it established through the lack of a zero-G sex scene in the first episode. That premiere didn't
No
have
sex.
it. Didn't have it, and...
Will we ever? Maybe at the end of the season they've done a reversal where we have to wait for it now.
Do you think it's going to be Naomi and Holden again?
It has to be. It's only them. They're the only ones allowed at this point. No Amos for you. Sorry, Rachel. I am worried that we are going to be having to keep picking esoteric answers, because I was looking through my notes. And I'm like, what the fuck do I give this? I only have one real choice, and again, it feels like a cop-out because it's not horny. It's just mischievous at best.
Yeah.
But I want to just mention this now, perhaps.
Okay.
The Mormons haven't been prevalent in the show.
No.
But their influence has, because this feels very much like the Mormons in terms of sexless.
Are you going to do the Nauvoo moving in the opening credits?
I'm saying that this season being sexless feels like the Mormons' influence of just the Mormons.
I was going to be
the Mormons are
pick.
Conservative weirdo freaks, and I look. My pick is Admiral Wynn is just fucking enjoying himself so much, being a masterminding villain who pulls rank. And when he gets shot in the side, and after he's dealt with that lady who shot him in the side, he adjusts himself to come across as, I'm perfectly together. Nothing is going wrong right now. That's it. That's all I've got. That guy's a hot piece of tasty, and that's... What else can I give you other than... Kotia also had a cockiness to him in this episode, but that's not really...
He's showing how injured he is, which I also wonder if he's playing up a little bit, because it's like either they're not giving him the full treatment to keep him sort of like not in peak condition so that he's easier to control, or he's faking how injured he still is, because he's all like, help me! But also, he could kill you. Easy. Yeah, like even in that
if you let him
state, even in that state, he's still
danger,
a threat.
Kotia, that actor, has allowed me to bring this up now, which is I noticed that his hair has grown out more since he's started the season. Like he has more hair on his head, he's got more of a beard, and You've been taking note that season 3 has gotten to that stage of every ensemble show ever, especially Sci-Fi, where the character's hair and facial hair begins to get a little longer, a little bit scraggly, like in Babylon 5 when Sheridan went from military buzz cut boy to mullet. We're getting to that point where Amos has a beard, like a full beard now. His hair on top is getting to the point of being long enough where he uses gel in it. Holden's getting more of a beard going on. Everyone's grown out their hair more. Prax, obviously, he no longer has that. Naomi's undercut is still undercutting, but the poofiness is getting poofier.
Yep.
Everyone's getting thicker in the head of hair. Did you have a Yum Yum in this, or do you only have your Amos selection?
No, I picked out one of Holden's lines because, like, it's not very sexy, but it's just fun. It's just fun. Him saying, "Run and nuke the goddamn place on the way out."
Yeah. Thank you, Rachel, for also having to grasp at straws with me, but you're going to have to grasp even harder because you have to give us your automatic Amos pick, the moment in which Rachel tells us how Amos turned her on today, because Amos is a character that is very, very appealing for my wife over there. And she always kept picking Amos as the sex factor of the show, so why not just admit to it and give us your automatic Amos pick? What is it? I'm desperate to know.
Well, he was only really in one scene.
2, kind of, at the end. He's there too.
Yeah.
Of note.
But I am going to go with the shooting range scene with Prax. And if I have to pick a line, it's definitely...
Yes. You have to pick something, Rachel. You can't just say a whole scene and then not clarify. You have to clarify something. Good luck.
No, I'm just embarrassed by myself before I even say it.
You're going to get screwed over when he's not in an episode and you have to still pick one. We didn't have Aaron right in this, so it's viable.
Yeah, we just had the
Christian's not been in episodes before.
Squeeze the trigger, don't pull it.
Yeah. Thank you for being able to say any of them. If I had to pick one, even though he's in a spacesuit at the end, he does squat down to start welding, and those muscles rippling through the suit, rippling through. Can you say that any other beefcake's muscles rip through the big baggy spacesuit like the Amos? No, not even Holden, who we know is objectively a beefcake too. Thoughts on Triple Point? Rachel, we went into this after having a little bit of a calmer episode previously.
Yeah, it still feels like it's slowing down before it ramps up again. It's a very solid episode still. It's got lots of moving parts, but doesn't feel overwhelming. And I really appreciate how we are introduced to new characters, and they still feel like people. They immediately feel lived in.
They have something to contribute.
Yeah, and there's a reason why they're being added in at this point. I was hopeful that we would see the ensign again and his journey, and we do get that. And we get the two sort of command staff members on the ship that do pick him up. And I like the way that they establish very quickly and efficiently who those characters are and their conflict with each other, as well as in the broader scope of the war.
They have come such a long way since season 1 characters that were there to just necessitate plot and spew out themes and messages. You could argue that these characters do the same, but they're just woven into the tapestry.
Yeah, it's integrated
so much.
differently.
It's integrated in a much smoother way. We're in rhythm with the show, and it's found its rhythm too. I enjoyed Triple Point quite a lot. Mm-hmm. It is very big. It's still
very important, but it doesn't have a hubris about it.
It is an episode that is putting its pieces on the board, so that way we can really play the game next episode or the ones coming up. This is an eye before the storm situation where shit does hit the fan at the end of this, but for the majority of the time, it is that quiet, brooding sensation that things are about to go wrong, that history is about to be made, that people have to make the right choices, and most likely the wrong choices are going to prevail, but hopefully it will all work out in the end. And I thought that this episode was very deceptive in a magnificent way of its thematic resonance throughout, which is we have a lot of storylines keep connecting to one another about the
echoing each other,
the parental relationship, the mother, the daughter, the father, the son, the father, the daughter, like all of these parent relationships and the loss of that. We have so many characters in this episode that are a parent or one that is representative of that, and they have lost that connection in some way, and they all have a different reaction to it, or it has shaped them in a certain way.
Whoever's there won't know we're coming, but that's the only advantage we got. We'll go in hot, land hard, and from there it's a 100-meter run to the access hatch.
Any idea of the resistance inside?
In terms of humans? No.
In terms of hybrids, there's no way to know for sure.
The beginning of the episode, when it comes to the crew of the Rocinante, is classic television.
Yes.
Classic TV. I was so happy with this. And I just need to get this out off my chest right now. Some serialized shows nowadays, whether it's sci-fi, whether it's a medical drama, whether it's this or this or this, kind of have removed a lot of these elements that make an individual episode its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this opening really was harkening back to what you'd seen something like Star Trek The Next Generation or even Battlestar Galactica. It's them on the bridge of their ship, laying out what their plan is. It's like, okay, here's what the plan is. Here's all of the obstacles we have to overcome, and we have to try and get there. And that obviously is telling us the dangers that they have to go through, but also it is a scene that is opening up all of the avenues for the other plots within this singular episode. It's basically them saying, here's the pitch of the episode. We have this Martian shipyard over here, the fleet of the UN is over here, and we have to try and sneak in to Io through this.
Yes.
Hopefully nothing goes wrong, and then of course everything goes wrong.
Yes.
This party's already on their way to Io. This one notices that they're on their way to Io, so they're going to join the party too, and the Rocinante is none the wiser until it happens.
They're caught in the middle. Again, they find themselves at the center of the galaxy.
It gives a good launching off point for the Rocinante because their plots in this episode aren't really based around pushing forward the big plot that they're going toward. They're not really, it's not like they're landing on Io a scene later and then they're running into the base and doing all of this. It's them just being emphasized as people and characters and why they are going towards this and so much more.
And how they feel about their place in everything as well, which is why it's really interesting to have this conversation between Christian and Holden, where she's challenging him to, he threw down the gauntlet and said, no, I'm done saving the galaxy. I can't do it. It shouldn't be up to me. It's not my place. All of these justifications. And she's just like, no, that is your place.
You are like me. We need adults in the room.
And I love the way that he spins it back on her and how she's just like, she's not used to losing conversations like this.
She's not having adults to talk to. And if they are always opposition.
Yeah.
Or they are subservient to her. Rarely are they peers in that sense of the word. Like Holden is her peer.
Yep.
He is someone who's challenging her, but he's not an adversary necessarily. He's not a foe, but he's also not someone who serves under her.
No.
He is her equal in this moment. And to see them back and forth.
He will not bow down to her. And she is used to getting people, no matter what position they are in relation to her, to do that.
She uses her mouth. She uses her ability to bend and break other people's will to what she needs. But what's really the key to their relationship is both of them have to be willing to compromise for one another to make headway with anything. And that's the thing of it. It's not just, Holden may be seeming all tough in this moment, but he'll wilt in the end and then he will give over and she'll get what she wants. No, she has to concede as well. And she talks about how they have many things in common, that they both feel the weight of the world on their shoulders. And this goes into a bit of her past where her dad had the statue on his desk of Atlas. They do the wonderful use of lamp shading here where they point out in that moment with Holden that it's almost like they're pointing out the writers, I see you're using this little trick to make a point here, because Holden's like, and let me guess. You still have that statue on your desk, so it motivates you to be who you are.
Every single day.
We get the message here. We get the point. Like, it's Holden acknowledging how in so many of these shows, characters...
That would be the thing.
Characters talk in a way that we do not actually talk in real life. Like, what Christian's saying works in a TV show or in a book, but people don't
they
talk
strip
like
it back.
That. Yeah, and so you have to have certain things to counteract that, to acknowledge that you are watching a piece of fiction in a way.
A good show. If you're okay with being a mediocre show, then you don't bother. If you're okay with being a bad show, you just lean into that all of the time.
To again talk about how far this series has come, The Expanse when it started, what really threw me off was how it lived so comfortably in the familiar trappings and tropes, cliches and conventions of the genre as well as detective fiction. And it didn't really challenge it or subvert it or do more with it than I was expecting. So, like, think about Miller in season 1. Like,
absolutely.
He was just detective noir character, and they didn't go those extra steps like they are necessarily nowadays with the series. And this is a moment that I think highlights that beautifully, in which she's going for this very eloquent, metaphorical, look, here's this thing, and Holden just breathily, flippantly, just casually undercuts and says, look, I know that's a trick. I know that this is something you're using to try and get through to me. And also it's something the writers are trying to get through to the audience. And it's not going to work here because it's obvious. And then she reveals something about it where it's like, well, it's not so obvious because of this.
No, because it's grittier than that. No, I smashed her when my son died. Fuck you, is the undertone of that. It's like, no. But like, it was on her desk up until that point. That point broke her.
And she has been a different person ever since.
Yep, forever changed.
She has always had tenacity. She's always had determination. She was 6 years old when her father said that she could carry the weight of the world on her shoulders more than even Atlas. She was 6. And she says that as like, oh, isn't that kind of funny? And Holden gives her this look of like, no, that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But she turns it around on him. Haven't you been the same?
Yeah, like, also, you weren't allowed to be a child either, were you?
I always get the sense that you were never a child. And from what we know of his upbringing, as does she,
true. Yeah.
That's the reason why his mum kicked him out. It said run away, basically, was he was not becoming a real person. And that was
a tool.
Did they remove his free will from him? And we were talking about that when it came to his morality in one of our previous discussions of the way he was brought up, the way he was trained as a person. Does he have much say in the matter of anything? And Christian's getting to the heart of that right here in this conversation. She needs him to do the right thing, but she knows that he doesn't feel like he should anymore because of how beaten down he is, but also because of this twisted way he's grown up. And she's like, I also grew up in a way similar where I personally just have so much need of control that I've had to go about things in a certain way that other people maybe do not understand. And it makes us have to be the adults in the room, that the children run around and destroy stuff, and we have to be the ones who stand up, because actually not many people are either smart enough, brave enough, or willing to stand up and be the adults in the room. But we are. And when it comes to Holden, we've talked about all of that, but with Christian saying that about how she views herself as like one of the adults in the room, what do you get out of that? What do you think about that? How does it make you reflect back on how her character has operated?
Oh, yeah. It's just like, oh, this is even more of a reason why she takes as much control as she does, because it's the assumption that the children cannot be trusted.
Does it make her naive, ignorant, or arrogant?
A little bit of all of them.
Because, for instance, Frank, her friend, the person that she screwed over, the person that she inadvertently got killed because of all of this, he was a smart guy. He was an adult too, but she treated him like a child because he didn't want to do what she wanted him to do.
Yeah.
And so she played him, and he's like, that's a dangerous game.
It's
what you do is scary.
Justification for devaluing other human beings.
I just think too that this moment highlights that she's blind with that assessment of herself as well. Like, it's powerful, it makes sense, and it motivates her to do what she does.
Her view of the world.
The point is, I didn't quit. I realized there were very few adults in the room, and that, like it or not, I was one of them.
I think I see where this is going.
Naomi has a tragic backstory too.
Yeah, we get it all laid out for us. We've gotten all of these pieces before, but now she's up front with Holden. I had this experience. I was running with the OPA. I got into a relationship, had a kid. He stole my kid.
How did she describe the man she was in a relationship with?
A fighter. A romantic.
Someone who believed he was doing this for all the right reasons, all the good, noble reasons. She basically described Holden.
Yeah.
She has a type.
Yeah.
I like how he says, I'm not like that. Because he's trying not to be like that. He's trying to be a Mr. Shut Off. He's trying to be...
Yes. And it really does confirm... This scene confirms what we were saying last episode about how the show deems giving the protomolecule to the belt as a good thing, but the way she did it was bad. And the way she did it is what she apologizes for properly in this scene.
Because the previous times she was always justifying that the belt deserved it, that they needed it, that they earned the right, but she was never able to defend the way she went about it. She always was obfuscating that, she was always avoiding that, or she was always pushing against
it doesn't matter
people questioning it.
The ends justify the means.
It was a classic the ends justify the means, and this is a very heavy scene. Tears are had. Holden again has this dumbfounded look on his face when he hears about someone being a mother. He's like, whoa.
I like the business in this scene of he's dealing with prepping like a helmet for the battle, and he's just like, he's clearly done with it, was about to put it back, but he's like not ready to let go of something in his hands because he's just like, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna look at this instead of looking at you, Naomi.
It's a very for him it's a very awkward moment, but also one of great value because he's been wanting a reason to forgive Naomi since the season started. Yes. He was pissed at her for a while, but he really, he as the show has said to us, they love each other for whatever reason.
Yeah.
We'll just have to take that at face value for the time being.
He says that I can't forgive how you did it. I understand why you did it. It's how you did it.
And we have known about Naomi having a child for a little while now, and it's one of those backstories that has been
Did we know his name
drip-fed.
before?
No, this is the most we've got. It's been drip-fed to us since the start. We with her, it's like they questioned if she was OPA for a while, and then they mentioned it that she used to run with them, and then they mentioned like other things, like when she met Fred Johnson, she needed him to look for a person for her. Who's that person? Oh, it's her son, as we learn, and it just gradual with Naomi, and I think that has finally paid off in a way that I find to be significant, because you and I have both had issues with Naomi because a part of it is what she describes in this scene, which is we don't know her. She says, you don't really know me. Like, I'm a mystery. We haven't really gotten to connect in any way because she's held so much back, and the show has held so much back from her. And we have to just take what we're given, and what we're given can at times be contradictory or confusing or a bit muddled or frustrating. But when they keep giving us the little breadcrumbs of who she is or what she was, it is adding more depth and weight to what we have seen.
Yeah.
And like with any storytelling move of this nature, it's a gamble. And for most of the show, it hasn't paid off. But I think this has made it pay off, in which when I watch it back, I'm sure I'll appreciate Naomi more. And I've said that too. Like,
oh, yeah, we had that sense that, and that faith in the show that it was going to eventually deliver on this. But
would it be good enough?
The journey to that point was not that enjoyable. And like you just said, it's like, is this all going to be worth it in the end? It resolves most of the problems that I had with it. I still think that a tweak here or there could have made it better for me personally, but I understand all the decisions that they made now looking back.
The biggest tweak that has to be made. It's too late. They've fucked it up. I need to genuinely believe that these two have love for one another, and I just don't. It's the writing has never earned that for me. The rest of it, like with what she says, I know for like in my heart when I'll go back, her erratic behavior, her flipping between being not wanting to be Belter and proud, or her being Belter and proud, that will all gel well. But because of this, the payoff has earned it. But when we go through that journey again, it's like, oh man, this relationship drama is just dry as fuck, because I don't really buy that they love each other. At most, they have affection, they have attraction, but love? And God bless them, both actors are doing the best work that they can in this scene. Like, I feel like they're really bought into it. And with what was said about her...
I can tell that they feel it, but I don't feel it.
And with what was said about her past, about how she dated this man similar to Holden, but he became corrupted. He went down a dangerous line, and she said no.
Yeah.
That's the thing. She was in an abusive relationship, whether it was with this individual man or the OPA in general, as we find out. They're all warm and affectionate and loving, and they serve you when you serve them.
As long as you serve them.
But as Julie found out, the moment you become a liability, or the moment that you do something, or the moment that they don't need you, you're left out into the wind and you're fucked over. Because what happened to Julie? She was waiting for help. They never came because they didn't give a fuck.
Do we think that she doesn't say the name of the father?
No, she says the name of the son, which was Philip.
Mm-hmm. Do we think that is going to be somebody from the OPA that we have already met?
No. I feel... Well, most of the people we've met from the OPA have been characters that they have met already, like the Rocinante crew. We haven't met too many OPA members that they haven't met. Like, ones we have seen have been through their prism. Miller's group, of OPA, if it's a Gorm Belter, it'll be a great surprise.
What I'm getting at is you don't think it's Dawes.
No, God. I think she would say it was Dawes. I think it's an unknown character. I'll leave it for predictions. I have predictions on this, as well as her son. But I really want to tap into her reasoning behind her apology and how she expresses it, and just the ownership of her mistakes, but also how she does not regret giving it to the belt. It's about how she gave it to the belt. And I have had problems with Naomi giving it to the belt because I'm like, you fucking idiot. Like, I was like Christian. I was like, you fucking idiot. You stupid, stupid girl. Like, why would you do this? Oh, it's great for plot. It's great for dramatic reasonings as to why. But to actually get to sit down and hear her express her reasonings, I still don't necessarily agree with them, but it is more understandable.
Yeah. You don't have to agree. You just have to understand.
And her admitting that what she did was shitty and aggravating and done in sake for drama, and because she didn't want to admit that she was invested again in life, is great stuff, because that's what she admits. You, Holden, through your adventures, through your noble heroism, have made me no longer numb. It was hard to stay numb, because after what happened with her son and she was unable to find him, she, like Amos, through trauma, or like Prax, through trauma, shut things down and try to distance themselves and try to just harden themselves to the world. But thanks to Jimmy Holden and his need for moral values and goodness, her and the rest of them can no longer ignore the calling of their hearts. And what do you think about all of that? Like, how does that make you feel about her character in retrospect, but also going forward?
It doesn't make me feel any particular way at the moment. I feel like those things are going to slot more into place when we get to the end of this season for me.
But then Eros happened. And Ganymede. Seeing all those belters suffering. And you cared so much. It made it hard to stay numb.
I find the exact opposite to be the case for Alex with what they're doing when it is in relation to Naomi. They give all of this stuff to Naomi to justify her shitty behavior, to better examine it, explore it, maybe make us empathize or sympathize with her. But when they do all this stuff with Alex, it just doubles down my loathing of him. And I just keep saying, you're a shitty guy. I hate you. You suck. Because his thing is, he gets a message from
his kid, who's like outside in a spacesuit being like, I know Mum's pissed, but I still love you and I want to fight for Mars.
And I know that you won't be able to come back home because you're out there being a hero. That you're too busy being a good person to be able to be back home with me. And that's okay. I understand. He views his father in a way that is far away from reality.
Yeah, it's rose-tinted glasses.
And Alex is crying at this. He's getting very emotional at this. He's first off just happy to see his son and he cares for his son, but there's obviously a lot of overwhelming things with this, and I just couldn't help but sit back in my seat going, fuck you, Alex.
Yeah.
Fuck you, piece of shit.
I felt sorry for his kid. I was just like, oh no. Like, you see your dad the way that a lot of kids see their dads. And it's not true. It's not true. He is not as good as you think he is.
Alex is the father of the ship. Like, he treats himself like he's their dad. He cooks them food. He gives them guidance, support. He's leaned on the fact that he's a family man and that he's a Martian soldier formerly. He has all of these classic tendencies you see of older guys who's...
It's like bullshit, because it's just like... Yeah, I was a Martian soldier.
I was just a bus driver, basically.
Yeah, so I'm a family man. I have a wife and a kid who I abandoned, but
on the surface,
those labels are true, but the values
that you associate with them,
that are implied and that he evokes when he draws on those labels as his part of his identity, are not there. He doesn't act in that way. He doesn't live his life like a proud husband and a proud father.
Or a proud Martian. He's a liar. He's a manipulative piece of shit. I loathe him. I hate him. He's disgusting. The show knows it. That's something to at least appreciate. He's the parent who chose to leave their child. Because Christian lost hers. Hers was taken away from her.
Naomi lost hers.
And Prax has lost his. And with those three characters, we see the heartbreak, the sorrow, the trauma make them...
The fight. Like, we know that Christian would do anything to get her son back if she could.
But it's made her what she is, and with all of them, it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged blade in which it's strengthened them, but it's also plagued them, as we see with Naomi, as we see with Prax. But we see that
over and over again with all sorts of trauma in this show.
Yeah,
and you see that in lots of shows where they use trauma in that way, but The Expanse specifically does it of, like, that's also what happened with Holden, where he was thrust into this situation and molded, but it's also made him the person that he is and have the strengths that he has that are benefiting the galaxy now.
I want to draw some parallels between some certain things here that may not be in the show, but I just can't help but want to pick apart at them. We have Prax is the dad who has lost his child, who's been taken away from him. He cares about that. He's become something new because of it. But Mal and Alex, through their behavior, lost their children actively. Mal in a much more
direct,
in a far more different way. He pushed his daughter away into what she became, and then she died, and then he used her body for the proto molecule, and so on and so forth. But Alex, he actively chose to abandon his child.
It was a choice, whereas Mal, it was compounding choices over time that pushed Julie away.
I do think there is something there about how two of the dads in this show have been people who lost their family because they did it. Yeah. They pushed it. They made it that way. They decided that. And Christian worried that she did that herself by making her son a military man and he wouldn't have gone into this. But Kotia's pointed out, like, hey, you can't put that on yourself. But Alex and Mal, this is all your fucking fault, the reason that you don't have a healthy family right now. So, Alex, I don't feel for him. I don't feel bad for him. Because he's privileged.
I feel frustrated by him. And I also feel frustrated by Mal. And I do just want to... The fact that we have all of these people who have the same label, they are all parents, but they are all very different in that role and have different impacts on their children.
And their children have had different impacts on them.
Yeah, because they are all individuals. It isn't that being a parent is one thing and it means this and you do this, because the people in this world are way more complicated than that.
Alex and Mal don't garner the sympathy because they have had the privilege. Alex, as stated, he has all of the trappings of perfect life. He was a military man with renown. Like, he wasn't a hero, he wasn't a badass space marine, but he was just a pilot, but people still treat him with respect. He has respect. He has a wife, he has a kid, he has a good thing going, but because of his own personal ambitions, he fucks it all up. And Mal's the exact same. He has everything you could ever want. He has all the money in the world, all the power in the world, but because of his own personal ambitions, he fucks over his life.
More.
They both want more. At least with Mal, he wants, like, corporate bad guy more. Well, Alex, he doesn't even know what more is that he wants. He just knows that he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah,
he's going to just be a cowboy in space. Like, when he signed
Alex, it was more adventure.
Yeah, but what adventure was he going to get on the ice hauler? Like, Naomi went there, and Amos went there, and Holden went there because there was nothing to be gained there.
Yeah, they were escaping something, and they wanted to be a nobody.
Look, I know this may not be it, but I think Alex wanted the call of adventure, but he's too much of a fucking idiot to actually have found it easily. So
I think the word you're looking for is wimp.
Loser. He signed up to the Canterbury thinking there would be great adventure ahead and he could use his piloting skills, but all he had was a boring, shitty job, so he listened to music on his headphones and kept to himself, and then through the happenstance of the series, he did eventually get the adventure that he's been seeking. But now his family is calling out to him and saying, "How dare you?" Or in the case of his son, "I'm letting you know that I have this image of you that you aren't." The son isn't aware that that image doesn't exist, but Alex does. Alex knows that he has basically lied to his child. And one day that will be found out. And I'm not saying like down the road I expect that there's going to be a plot where the son says, oh, I found out that you did this and I hate you, Dad. But with how life goes, you do find these things out. And I'm glad that they're giving Alex stuff to do in the show. And that we can actually have on this podcast deep conversations about Alex. I still don't like him as a character, but as one to talk about, I actually really like talking about Alex now because they've given him material that's actually something that brings merit rather than last season in which it felt like leftovers. It felt like they gave him scraps. Here you go. Here are some scraps for you to play with.
I know Mom's mad and doesn't want me talking to you, but I just want you to know I'm not mad. I mean, I was at first, but I know you only left to protect us. A real lawyer has to make sacrifices.
With Amos and Prax, I get that one scene where they talk, where he's teaching Prax how to use a gun, and Prax is very skilled at using the gun now. He's very calm and collected while doing it. He's got this blank expression on, a brooding look, perhaps.
He's still making the mistake of squinting an eye.
Let's talk about this scene a bit more. Get us into it, Rachel, and what's happening here and what you got out of it.
It's a nice, quiet moment with the two of them, which is what we've been getting, and we've been really enjoying the evolution of their friendship. And it makes sense that Prax wants to go in prepared, and we know that this sort of subtext of that is prepared to kill his child,
or prepared to kill the person who's taken his child.
Yep. But he's getting ready to murder some bitches, and Amos is like, yep, that makes sense, I'm gonna help you get ready.
Don't thank me until we've got your daughter back.
Yep.
That's when all of this matters.
Yep.
Amos is very much framing it as, we will get your daughter back. We need to get your daughter back, and let's keep focusing on the whole thing about your daughter, and how we're going to save her and how good it will be once we save her.
Yep, I'm not ready to give up on that. That's the goal. That goal is still within reach, even if it keeps on shifting, which is what happens at the end of the episode.
But Prax has a different point of view.
It's sweet.
No, not for Prax. It's sad for Prax because he comes across to me as he's accepted in his heart that she's already dead, or that he'll have to kill her. And what matters is getting even. As you say, Amos, if all else fails, at least we got that.
Yeah.
And Amos looks upset by that.
No, like, it's not sweet that Prax is feeling that way. It's that Amos is disappointed. He feels like Prax is losing something by gaining that perspective.
There's a sweetness in terms of seeing that Amos has grown so much from where he used to be. And this is exemplified by Prax becoming what Amos used to be. And that is a tragic thing rather than an awesome, badass thing. Prax becoming a cynical, emotionless action hero killer is not cool, actually. Obviously, it isn't. It's actually very tragic. But doing that makes it all the more obvious that it's tragic that Amos has gone through this himself and that he's on this journey now, and he knows it, of a journey of discovery of who he is, actually. Who is Amos when he is not the beasts of his past, when he is not the man built up of trauma who has to have all of these ideologies and methods of repression to be able to function. Who is Amos once those things are stripped away? That's what he's finding out. And he's finding out that there's actually more to life than what he's been believing all of these years. But sadly, there's Prax falling down the same trap that he has fallen down pretty much his entire life.
We have a couple of moments sprinkled in this episode where we check in with Mal and Strickland on Io, and they are interrogating a child who's in this glass chamber.
Yeah, the one that we've
They're
seen.
still calling him by his name, which I appreciate.
Yeah, the one who was May's friend, who has been very receptive to the blue goo.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's following on from them finding him having deconstructed,
Disassembled.
the nurse, who we do get confirmation was men.
I knew that.
Yeah. Me just showing my stereotypes.
Didn't you watch Meet the Parents? You can have male nurses.
Oh, yeah, I know that there are plenty of male nurses. It's just...
You assumed.
Yeah, but it's also because in my life, the nurses that I know are females.
But he disassembled this male nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he disassembled Ben Stiller from the film Meet the Parents. That was Ben Stiller's cameo in the show. I have no evidence to say otherwise, and don't give me any. If Ben Stiller suddenly shows up in this series as a character, I'll eat my hat. But the disassembly, I just want to say too, brings back the Venus stuff, because that's what we saw at the end of the last season with Dr. Accent and his expedition. Was they didn't get destroyed, they didn't get transformed, they got disassembled. It all got broken apart.
The parts work together
and building something with it.
Yeah. And they get confirmation that something is being built on Venus, which is the same thing that the proto-molecule did when it was on Eros. It was building something.
It's building something. It's not just transforming. It is constructing something there, and Mao desperately wants to know what, because that's the mystery. That's the thing that needs to be answered. And the blue goo monster kid is not going to give up that easily, because it's still flicking between the two. It's still flicking between the child who's suffering and the proto-molecule itself. And they have to sedate him. They have to do all of his horrible things to lessen the effects.
His metabolism, because he's going to fully become like
a hybrid.
Yeah. Which was what they were trying to avoid. They wanted to keep enough humanity to keep it under control.
The blue goo kid revealed something about the blue goo itself. That it's not just building something, but there's a purpose behind it.
Yes, it has a mission.
It kept stating
the work,
the mission, the work.
Twinged in my brain.
Why?
Because the show refers to the Mormons.
Yes.
We got the Mormons.
They're in the opening credits now. In a bigger way.
And
Tycho's been there before.
I know from engaging with some Mormon-related content that the fundamental Church of Latter-day Saints is a big fan of using the phrase, the work.
It's a mantra.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this kid's using it almost as if it's a mantra. Like, it's a thing, it's the work, we're doing the work, it's the work.
Mm-hmm.
What I really got out of this scene was that for all of the strangeness of this proto-molecule, they always keep saying it's learning, it's adapting, but they always just keep saying it as if that's its goal, is to learn, to adapt. But the phrase that it has an objective, that there's the work it is completing, is that the proto-molecule isn't just there to be a learning software, but it is doing a specific task in mind, that it's building something. And we had this discussion when it took over Eros Station of like, what's it building? Is it building a relay station or a transmitter or this or this or this? And it was an engine. It wants to fly. It wants to go somewhere. And because it was connected to Julie, she wanted to go back home. Now, Venus is happening, and it's got the connection probably of Julie, all of the people there, and Miller too, as well as we see with this kid, as it's a part of the connection to it, its own thing. And it makes you wonder, what is the overall goal of the proto-molecule? Why does it exist? They keep saying that it's a weapon of some sort. But Mao has, since the very beginning...
But we go back to the monkey with a stick.
But Mao has said from the very beginning, you have too small of a view, you don't have a big enough imagination. Humanity wants to use it for war, but perhaps this is something else. And I think that's what he's interested in. He's like... He wants to sell it. He wants to do all of this stuff, but he wants to know.
He wants to understand
what the possibilities of this is.
Thus, it's no surprise when he has no pause when it was just like, well, that kid's bust. The next one is May.
We need another conduit.
This subject hybridized with the protomolecule better than anyone I've ever seen. Of the remaining subjects, the one with the most similar genetic profile would be Mei Meng.
The crew eventually do get to Io, but they have to stop and weld their way through. There was a lot of welding scenes.
I'm glad that this happened, because I was getting fed up of waiting for them to get to the point where they almost get May back. Because I'm like... It's going to happen. They're going to get to Io. They're going to escape. It's just the natural course of things. And I was just ready for it to fucking happen.
Bobby's suit is ready to go. There's still some issues with the jet thrusters because although the Rocinante is a rocket ship, it doesn't have rocket fuel. And she needs to have some sort of ability to set these things on fire because that's their weakness, it seems, to be
She's just
set
like,
ablaze.
Okay, I'm going to do that. And Alex is just like, but we're running. And she's just like, yeah, I know.
Damn it, these RPGs don't have the things I need. Oh, this sucks.
She's like, no, I'm going to be prepared.
And they arrive on Io, but a little late. Mao's aware that they're there because he hears them landing. And it can't be the factions he knows exist. It has to be someone else. He's confused by it. And that means not only the Rocinante crew late because the hybrids get launched, but they're going to be caught because all they had was the element of surprise. That's all they had. And they knew once we land, that will be gone. They'll know that we're here. And we see that is true. We end the episode on the hybrids are launched out because of what's going on in the other plots. And they have this look of, oh shit, this is very bad.
Oh, this is just exploded. And like that's the final line of the episode, is Holden being like they launched them and we're going to be dealing with the consequences of that for a while. And it is not surprising at all that that's what happens, but it's still an oh shit moment.
They have no ability to deal with it now. They're on the ground. They have to do what they have to do and save May and get the fuck out of there. We see that ensign from the previous episode get taken aboard a Martian ship. He goes to see the higher-ups, has to try and convince them about what he went through.
Convinces the CO and... Is it the CO and the XO?
Sure. And they are given the evidence of Ehrenreit's deception. And rightfully so, as I thought during the entire conversation last episode with Christian's
suspicious
plan,
of it and do not accept it at first and want to confirm.
Which is a running theme because eventually the Admiral Saltha will get it and he's like, I need this confirmed, I need this evidence, I need the truth of this.
And he just has an easy way of doing it, which is go speak to Katja.
But the Martians don't. They have to rely on intuition, on gut feeling, on faith, on the goodness of humanity, because if this is true, then maybe we don't have to kill each other today. Maybe I don't have to lose another person, myself or my crew, or other lives are lost.
Immediately set up this captain has just lost her sister.
Oh yeah, it was his sister, wasn't it? And they are outnumbered as well. They maybe have stronger weaponry than this, but they just don't have the numbers. That they'll most likely, if they do win, there's going to be too much bloodshed for it to really count.
It will be a loss for everybody if they fight.
She has to convince not only her ship but herself to deal with this in the best way possible. And that's what I really loved about Triple Point, is a lot of the story in this section when it comes to the Mars and Earth is we're seeing characters be given the keys to the car, where they're given exactly what they need. They're given the leverage. They're given the opportunity to do what they need, and they have to be careful.
Yeah. And I really loved her line that she has about how maybe this far out and away from the politicians, we can get this done. And if Aaron Wright's general wasn't there, that really would have worked.
There is a question in the air of this episode about honor, about respect and nobility and heroism, and it is, what does it matter? What does it count for if bad people can do horrible things and win or get a leg up or be powerful? Christian is on the run right now. She's public enemy number 1 because the shitty bad guy has managed to get what he needs, and she has the leverage to destroy him, but she needs to count on other people to be good like she is, and it does work out. But that, again, with the Martian captain, she has to battle in herself. Does she do what is the good thing here, or does she do what's best for Mars right now, which is just sit on this and say, no, this isn't real, let's go to battle, let's fight.
Yeah, and it is an interesting reflection of that ideology of Mars first as well as Earth first, because we get both of those perspectives challenged.
And we get them brought up in the first place in the episode, that Christian was always thinking Earth first, and then when we go to Mars and they're on their ship, it's like Mars first. It's in the brain, and
that's the graffiti, that's the propaganda.
It's the same old line, and it means the same old thing, and it goes back to what Anna said, the laughing at the them and us, and the we have to differentiate when we're all really the same underneath it all. We're all people, but no, let's get these separations to better justify what we do to one another, because if we really examined it, if we really came to terms with brutality, we would be less likely to do it. So let's other them. Let's put us first and them last. And the conversations had in the series about what does being a good person get you in the end, because the Admiral Souther, I noticed that characters say it differently depending who the actor is, so it's one of those things again. And I'll note, the actor says it differently depending on the scene, so who cares? But Admiral,
he's dead now, so
yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say, is he is such a noble, honorable, great guy. We've said this before. The fleet respects him.
Well, they re-established that he trained a lot of the leaders within the fleet. So that's even more of a reason why they trust him and will follow him.
That although there is such thing as a chain of command, it is who you know. It is about the merit of one's character rather than their rank, rather than they have made it to this echelon. So we just bow our heads and say, yes. There's a rift now in the fleet that is about to engage in this fight because there are those who will follow and there are those who will defy. And this admiral, who we know to be a good man, is offered this opportunity and
for mutiny. And he's
for an uprising.
Yeah, he is not sure what he's going to do with that to start with. He's just like, I know what you're saying and I'm scared. Like, and it's not just that he's scared that they're in that situation. He's scared that they're ready for it.
And that he can be a person that is on that level of being able to make a military coup, that realistically he could change the tide of the war and of the status quo because he is a respected military figure. And he doesn't, like, although he cares about that, that's not what he's in this for. He's in it for doing the moral and right thing. And even being allowed, even chatting about this stuff, I feel goes against a lot of what he does deep down. But he's in a moment in time, in a vicarious situation in which it is the thing that has to be done.
Yeah, it's the right choice. It's definitely shown and presented in the way where they were right to do this mutiny.
This man, who has been nothing but a voice of reason, finally cracks and says no more, and he performs a mutiny, performs a coup, is successful for a period of time, and then he dies. He dies. He just gets shot to shit. He's down. It's not a noble death. It's a surprise. And it goes into what I was just saying about the show of, like, you can finally step up to the plate and do a good thing. Doesn't mean that you'll get a good thing in return. And maybe not in the way that you expect, because he dies. But what he did motivated other people to do the right thing. He became a martyr instantly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I felt bad for him because I like this character, and I was so sad to see him go and just to be just taken out just like that by one of my other favorite characters, who's a shitty guy, Admiral Wynn. And we got a bit of backstory on Wynn in this episode. Do you want to cover that? Do you want to discuss that a bit?
That's the way that's delivered is just. It's just so great because it's just like this dude coming into the sort of officer's mess hall or whatever that room is and just being like, he's not a bad guy. He had this bad thing happen to him. And the way that the character delivers it is interesting because you see that he believes in this. He believes in Wynn. And that means that whatever Wynn does is justified. He's earned that place, whereas nobody else in that room believes that. They see it as a lie, and we side with them of like, oh yeah, okay, he did those things. That doesn't mean that he gets to be a bad person now.
Cool backstory, bro, but still murder is it. We got the same with Anderson Dawes. He got a really compelling, dramatic, sad backstory that molded him into being the psychotic freakazoid that he is today. And that's what Admiral Wynn has. He had this incident with the Martians in which, whatever the case may be, there was dishonor had, lives were lost, and he will never forget that the Martians are treacherous, that they will strike without a moment's notice, and that they could easily kill us. So he'll never let them get to that point again. It's great motivations and justifications for this type of character, but that officer is framing it as, and that's why he's good, because unlike other people, say your admiral,
he won't flinch to fire.
and he's awake. Your one's asleep. He's not aware of how dangerous this actually is. But thankfully, we have someone driving the car that knows the terrain. And that means he's good.
We have an adult in charge of the ship.
Not a psychopath. Which, that officer, by the end of the episode, you can tell, even though he's still sided with Wynn, you can tell that he knows now.
He's wavering.
He has people that were loyal to him now hesitant and leave and or stand up against him. And he still doesn't see the faults in his leadership.
No.
He just knows that, hey, chain of command, I'm in charge. You should respect me automatically.
As soon as he was dissing Admiral Souther on the command deck in front of Souther's crew, I was just like, oh, dude, no. Like, that's a bad idea. That's a bad play. But he's too arrogant. It's like, I don't need to worry about these people because I'm in charge.
He's short-sighted.
And no matter what, I'll win because I'm me. He doesn't think about the fact that if he gets everybody on board, then it'll work better.
If there's anyone else here who is unwilling to follow my lawful order, declare yourself now.
He orders them to shoot one of the ships, one of their own ships, because they're leaving. They refuse to do it, so he does it himself, thinking that, because he's so short-sighted, he's so stupid, that once I do that, everyone else will fall in line. It's not even in his mind that they could go against him, even though everyone's just gone against him right now. He still can't fathom it because I'm in charge. Respect me. And of course, they go against him, and he's stupid enough. Again, absolute fucking dum-dum. He makes it a shooting war with his own fleet, with Mars sitting right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much of an arrogant son of a bitch he is.
Mars is just like, just let them shoot each other.
Yeah.
I love that play.
That was a great play, but also it was an honorable bit because they go a step further and they offer aid to those because they see that things have obviously been divided because they heard a lot of this as well.
Yeah, which that we're referring to him as the XO, the Cylon from Battlestar.
Yeah, number 5.
Not happy about it at all.
By the end, he sees the merit of it, but it was all he needs to see it for play out to understand it. He wouldn't have done it like this.
No, he didn't see the opportunity for peace that she saw.
That is triple points.
Mm-hmm.
On our rating system of Yum being bad and Yum Yum being good, what do you give it?
Yum Yum.
Yum yum.
I give triple point a Yum Yum as well.
Yum yum.
With the next episode, Rachel, what is the title? I do not know, but we are chugging along with season 3, so we are going to hear the title. We don't know anything more other than the name. We don't know what's in it. We haven't looked at the thumbnails. We don't know jack shit, so we're going to make our guesses, but what's it called?
Immolation.
Immolation. That is the next episode. And do we have any thoughts on what will be happening in it? After watching this one or the title itself, what is going to be going on? Do you have anything?
I think Prax is going to die.
No! Wash your mouth out. We can't kill Prax. He's too good. What would happen to May?
I think he's going to die to save May.
Any other predictions, any other thoughts on what could be happening? Because there's a lot.
I think we're going to deal with the fallout of this battle back on Earth. I hope that we check in with Anna and what she's going to do with the footage.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Avasalara is going to try for a big play. And it doesn't work. I think she's going to overextend.
I I'm in complete agreement with pretty much most of what you said. I don't think Prax will die. I think it would be just such a bad move if they did that. I think they are going to enter the base and have to deal with the hybrids, and or specifically that one hybrid of the kid who will break out because he seems like he's trying to break out, and that Bobby will have to fight it because they've set that up and she wants to try and kill one, and that they've got this whole idea about setting them ablaze. So there's that. I think Ehrenreich is going to get the evidence put out against him, and that there's going to be the beginning of the fallout of that. But immolation is a very specific word to use. Now, I know what it means, but for those who are maybe not in the know, it's very much, relating to fire,
Would you like the definition?
Yes, because the title is very on point with what this series has been doing.
The act of killing yourself or someone else, or of destroying something, usually by burning.
By burning. And I think that will obviously take place.
I think they are going to end up nuking.
I think they're going to set Mao on fire. No, well, I really genuinely think this is my big prediction for the next episode.
Julie kept on saying that she was cold as she was dying with the proto-molecule, right?
What my big prediction is, the name of the Rocinante was now given to this new plant, this plant life that was born through immolation, through fire. And I think that is representative of this season as a whole, that our characters are going to have to be reborn through fire, that they're going to have to go through this horrible set of experiences to come out the other side. And I think
they've
that
done this before.
This episode is going to be that, in which maybe we lose some people, or people get greatly changed, or they do save the day, but now there's a new problem. And I think that this is going to close off an arc. I think this is going to be the end of Mao and the hybrid of stuff, or maybe even Ehrenreich. But I think it's going to open up something bigger, something different. We're going to go back to the OPA plot, because
it might be a end of a chapter, but it's
end of a book.
Opening up everything.
And that's something too. Episode 6 last season was the beginning of a new book. Episode 5 was the finishing. We're at that point again, it feels. And my big play is it will be about Venus. We'll close off whatever this arc is, and we're going to have whatever the fuck is happening at Venus emerge. And then that's going to be the thing we deal with. Now, do you have any predictions or thoughts or theories on things down the road, things beyond just the next episode? Do you have any ideas about the man from Naomi's past, perhaps, because we teased that a little? Like anything in the ether for you?
No, I hope that we eventually do get to see her reunited with her son. That's like the romantic in me hoping for that really sweet moment. I don't know if we're going to get it, but I hope for it.
I believe that, and the egg is on my face already, because I thought that Mao's other daughter would be in the show by now, if at all, because they set her up and
They do touch on his family again in this episode.
Yes, but it seems in my eyes that Mao himself is about to meet his end. I don't think he can just run away again from this. He's already run like 2-3 times. But my thought is that previous boyfriend that she was with, the one that has her kid, is going to be like the shitty OPA bad guy we're going to have to deal with.
The next villain is going to be her ex.
The next villain's going to be her ex, because the way she talked about him made him seem like how you talk about the next big bad that hasn't shown up.
Yeah, it really did.
I have severe doubts now that Jared Harris is going to be in this show all that much, because one, Jared Harris always dies in every single show he's in.
Oh, he does. So much.
And two, although I kind of remember that Jared Harris is in this show, no one talks about Jared Harris being like a pivotal part of The Expanse. It's just like, Jared Harris. He also did The Expanse. Oh, okay. And so I feel like they're setting up this boyfriend guy to basically be the next whatever Anderson Dawes may be in the books, or maybe this guy's in the books as like a fucking I don't know, but he feels like whatever this character is, they're setting him up as future bad guy.
Yeah.
We've watched shows before. You've watched Buffy. They do that.
They do.
Future bad guy. But that is
thank you for listening.
Thoughts on everything. And hopefully you're all having a giggle about the silly predictions and thoughts we have.
Thank you to the patrons for listening to this first and getting this far into the episode.
Yes, thank you all so much for tuning in. And if you have not shared the show with all of your friends, family, and foes, please do so. It helps us greatly, and it's very much appreciated if you let everyone know about what we're doing here. If there are people that you are aware of that are watching The Expanse for the first time and may enjoy having a companion podcast, or if there are people like yourself or others around that are already making their way through the show or have been familiar with The Expanse and gone through it from back to front and maybe get a kick out of people going through it for the first time, head them on over to Yum Yum Podcast. We're on all of the podcatchers, even on YouTube. You can find our material there. And we're on all of those social medias under Yum Yum Pod or Yum Yum Podcast. If you want to engage with us, if you do want to engage with us, follow us on those social medias, or you can just hit us up more directly over at
yumyumpod@gmail.com.
No spoilers though, okay? Remember that we're watching this through unaware. If we've made some stellar predictions or some absolutely massive mistakes, don't tell us in a way that spoils. Don't tell us. In fact, if you want to blab away about it, come join the Patreon where you get to be a member of our group Discord, and there's a channel on there where you can talk about all of the spoilers with your fellow Yumlings. We don't see it, but you can vent there. And the Gaunt Belter could have been played by Sacha Baron Cohen in this show. And if he was, would he have been a main character? I think so.
Maybe.
I was going to say, you don't cast a big star and then don't have that, but then Jared Harris exists. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But I miss him. I miss you.
We miss you, Gaunt Belter.
We miss you. Which of the Sacha Baron Cohen characters is the most like the Gaunt Belter? And is it Bruno?
No, it's his character in Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
I had that in my head the whole time. Him in the outfit, too.
I am Adolfo Pirelli, the king of the barbers, the barber of kings. Buongiorno, good day. I blow you a kiss.